The holding cells of the HFY warship stank of ammonia and despair. Rizath lay crumpled in the corner of the crystalline cage, his once magnificent scales now dull and cracked like dried earth. The dragon's massive form, easily 15 meters from snout to tail, barely fit within the energy-barred enclosure. His wings, membranes torn and bleeding, draped uselessly across his back. 3 cycles. 3 cycles since the HFY had captured him during their raid on the neutral trading post at Kepler 442b. 3 cycles since he'd last tasted water. The torture had been methodical. The HFY, insectoid creatures with translucent carapaces and too many joints in their limbs, had wanted information about the dragon clan's migration routes. Rizath had given them nothing but fire, until his flame guttered out, reduced to pathetic wisps of smoke. Then they'd switched tactics. No water, no moisture of any kind in the sterile, climate-controlled cell. For a species that breathed fire, water was life itself, the balance that kept their internal furnaces from consuming them from within. Rizath's throat felt like broken glass. His tongue, thick and swollen, barely moved in his mouth. The edges of his vision darkened, and he knew, with the ancient knowing of his kind, that death approached on silent wings. The corridor outside erupted in chaos. Alarms shrieked. The HFY guards clicked and chittered in their harsh language, mandibles clacking with agitation. Energy weapons discharged with sharp cracks that echoed through the detention level. Rizath barely registered the sounds. He was dreaming of mountain springs, of glacial runoff cascading over his scales, of diving into deep lakes that steamed when his body heat met their cool depths. The energy bars of his cell flickered, once, twice, then died completely. "Holy hell," a voice said, human, young, female. "You're really in there." Rizath's eyes, filmed with dehydration, struggled to focus. A small figure stood at the cell entrance, barely reaching 2 meters tall. Human, yes. He could smell the distinct mammalian scent even through his dried-out sinuses. She wore a patchwork pressure suit that had seen better days, and her dark hair was pulled back in a practical braid. Her brown eyes went wide as they took in his massive, broken form. "Kayla Voss, you absolute idiot," she muttered to herself. "Breaking into an alien warship to rescue a dragon. Mom would kill you if the HFY don't first." She stepped into the cell, and Rizath saw the compact plasma cutter in her hand, still glowing from where she'd disabled the power conduits. On her back, she carried a bulging supply pack that looked almost as large as her torso. "Okay, big guy," Kayla said, approaching cautiously. "I'm going to guess you're Rizath? The missing dragon from the trade station?" She didn't wait for an answer. He couldn't have given one anyway. "Right. So here's the deal. Human freighter captain named Chen saw the HFY take you. By the time he got word to the Galactic Council, they were reviewing the incident. Bureaucratic garbage. But humans? We don't wait for permission." She dropped the pack and pulled out a large, sealed container. The slosh of liquid inside made Rizath's remaining strength surge with desperate hope. "I've been planning this rescue for 2 days," Kayla continued, working quickly to unseal the container. "Studied your species biology. Dragons need water more than most spacers realize, right? Everyone thinks fire breathers hate the stuff, but it's the opposite. You need it to survive." She hefted the container, struggling with its weight. "This is 40 liters of purified water, medical grade. I, may have stolen it from 3 different ships at the dock." She brought the container close to his massive head. Rizath tried to move, but his muscles refused to obey. Kayla seemed to understand. Without hesitation, this tiny human, this child by dragon reckoning, barely into her 20s, cradled his enormous head, her arms trembling with the effort. "Come on," she whispered. "Just a little. You need to drink." She tipped the container, and water, blessed, cool, life-giving water, touched Rizath's cracked lips. His body took over. Instinct surged past exhaustion. He drank and drank. Kayla held steady, adjusting her position, letting him drain the entire container. When it was empty, she grabbed another from her pack, then another. 120 liters in total, probably half her body weight in water that she'd carried through a hostile alien ship. Feeling returned to Ryzath's limbs. The fog in his mind began to clear. His eyes focused fully on the young human who knelt beside him, breathing hard from exertion, watching him with fierce determination. "That's better," Kayla said, allowing herself a brief smile. "Now comes the hard part. Can you move?" "Because my extraction plan relies heavily on you being able to fly us both out of here, and I'm starting to think I should have thought this through better." Ryzath's voice emerged as a rasp, but it was his voice nonetheless. "You came alone?" "Couldn't risk anyone else," Kayla replied. "Besides, humans have this stupid thing about honor and not leaving sentient beings to be tortured. It's a whole complex. We're working on it." She stood, offering her hand to help him up, a gesture so absurd given their size difference that Ryzath felt something like laughter stir in his chest for the first time in cycles. He rose. Slowly, painfully, but he rose. His wings unfurled, still damaged but functional enough. Power thrummed through him again. Not his full strength, but enough. "The Jacrai will hunt us," Ryzath said. "Let them try." Kayla grinned, fearless. "I've got a dragon on my side." She climbed onto his back as if she'd done it 100 times before. Ryzath felt her small hands grip his scales, felt her trust in him despite everything, despite his weakness, despite the danger, despite barely knowing him. This was humanity, he realized. Not the strongest species, not the most advanced, but perhaps the most courageous. The ones who saw suffering and said, "No more." The ones who risked everything for strangers simply because it was right. Ryzath gathered himself, feeling water course through him like forgotten magic. His flame kindled in his chest, small but growing. He looked at the cell door, then at the corridor beyond where Jacrai soldiers were rallying. "Hold on, Kayla Voss," he said. Then the dragon, no longer dying, no longer broken, spread his wings and showed the galaxy what happened when you tortured one of his kind and thought humans would simply let it pass. They flew toward freedom, toward vengeance, toward the beginning of a legend that would ripple across 1,000 worlds, the story of a dragon and the brave human who refused to let him die alone.